We are what? We are who? We are what? Vibrant. We are who? 50 plus. Hi, welcome to Gray Lives on the Rise. I am your host, Professor Jamila Franklin, and we are coming to you from Oyende Enterprises, being sponsored by Jamila Sense, which is our product line of aromatherapy products that helps heal the mind, body, and soul. And we are bringing to you Alamaj's Rebirthing Program, as well as Jamila Sense, and a host of wonderful programs that will help heal your body, heal your soul, and heal your mind. 50 plus people, we are here to stay. Gray Lives on the Rise. We are what? We are who? We are vibrant, and we are here to stay. Join us for our wonderful episodes. Thank you, and continue to look for our episodes weekly, being brought to you again from Oyende Enterprises and Jamila Sense. See you soon.
Greetings, everyone.
Greetings.
This is Professor Jamila Franklin, and I'm so happy to be with you this evening. And we have a wonderful guest this evening, Althea, aka Althea Benson, who's going to talk to you about trauma healing. And we have a lot to discuss. But before we get into having this wonderful person share with you her pearls of wisdom, let me just give you some background information for those of you who are new to the podcast. Great Lives on the Rise. I am the CEO and founder, Professor Jamila Franklin. I have on my shirt, Great Lives on the Rise. I'll give you more information about that. This started about 2 years ago, and I was walking, and a download came into my consciousness from the creator of the universe. And what it basically said is that there's nothing out there that deals with people in your demographic. And that demographic consists of people who are 50 plus. And I thought about it. I said, it's true, except AARP and Medicare. And AARP has the stigma of people being sedentary and just old fogies. And none of the people now in their 50s and above look like that. That used to be how people looked back in the day. And also Medicare. And most of the people that I know have relatively good health. I'm vegan, but it doesn't mean that because you are vegan that you may not need additional assistance. So those two things are the only two things that really have been promoting people who are 50 plus. So this download said, look, you need to get your store, you need to relanguage how people look at all of you, and you need to come up with a name. So I thought about Gray Lives Matter, and then I said, no, that's overused. And then Gray Lives on the Rise came into my consciousness, and I said, yeah, I like that. You don't have to have gray hair. You don't have to have hair, period. It's a consciousness. So I said, yeah, Gray Lives on the Rise. Lives rhymes with rise, and we're on the upswing. And then the next thing was like, we need to relanguage how we refer to ourselves. We're not elderly, we're not decrepit, we're not old, we're not senile. We're mature, we're seasoned, we're full of life, and we're very involved and active. So then it said, okay, you need to have a store to market this wonderful concept. So we have a store, and in our store we have t-shirts like what I have on in different colors. We have floor mats, we have doormats, we have coffee mugs. You name it, we have it. So I felt very, very good about that. Then the last thing was the podcast. So in the almost 2 years that we've been on the air, I've had people from Serbia, Eastern Europe, from the UK, from the United Arab Emirates, from the Philippines, from Haiti, from from the Netherlands, from New Zealand, from Australia, from Canada, and of course from here, from America. So we've had people from different countries, and they all have said the same thing. When you hit 50 plus in these different countries, people tend to ignore you, or they tend to dismiss you and gaslight you. So I just thought it was here in America, but no, it's global. So we have a global podcast that has men, women, 50 plus, and multiracial, multi-ethnic, multi-religious, and we're doing very, very well. So tonight we're going to have the wonderful Althea, but I'm going to introduce to you the company. I have several companies. The company of mine that pays for the podcast, because it's not free, is Jamila Sense, and that's my aromatherapy company. And this is my #1 seller, Peace Be Still. And everything I have is all natural, and I make it. So you see how transparent it is? Mm-hmm. So you just put a couple of drops in your hand, and it's amazing. You put the drops in your hand, and then you rub it together, and you just breathe in. Healing. It gets rid of stress, anxiety, depression, PTSD, hyperactivity within children, sinus congestion, sinus headaches, menopausal symptoms, and flies and mosquitoes won't come near you. So you take the rest and you put it on your arms and your legs, and it lubricates the skin as well. So it gets in the body within 10 to 20 minutes and comes out through your urine and your perspiration. It is amazing. So you can go to my website, which is oyindeenterprises.com, OYINDE Enterprises, ENTERPRISES.com. And when you go to our website, you will see all of my other companies, and you will see Gray Lives on the Rise. That's our latest baby. Click on that, and you will see all the things that we have done in a short period of time. And if you're interested in being a guest speaker, which the criteria are listed on that particular page, you can contact me and we can take it from there. And I am a college professor, a certified aromatherapist, a certified Reiki master, a certified metaphysician, an award-winning author, and I am a therapist, mental health therapist, and a life coach. So I've done quite a bit in my lifetime, and I'm still growing and doing more. So I haven't said all of that. I just want to give you that information. Go to our website, look us up, and make sure you tune in every Sunday from 7 to 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, or you can look at the replay, right? So we are excited this evening to have a wonderful guest, Althea, fondly known as Thea, and she has an illustrious background, so I'm going to tell you more about her. Althea Benson is an accomplished registered nurse with 18 years of experience, a dedicated author, and the visionary behind an emerging health coaching practice rooted in healing, resilience, and personal transformation. She began her nursing journey by earning her associate degree in nursing from Seminole Community College in Sanford, Florida. She later completed her Bachelor of Science in Nursing at Capella University, graduating magna cum laude, and went on to earn her Master of Science in Nursing with a concentration in nursing education from Purdue Global University. Born in Wyatt, Missouri, and raised in the South Suburbs of Illinois, Althea's life has been shaped by both adversity and faith. Her writing reflects her commitment to transparency, healing, and empowering others through lived experience. She has authored 2 books under 2 pen names. One is called Holy Disruption, Faith Without Filters, Beyond the Mask. And the pseudonym that she used for that one is River Grace. The next book is I Am Me, Survival, Healing, Rebuilding, Becoming Whole Again, as Thea B. That's her pseudonym for that one. Both titles are available on Amazon. We're going to talk more about that later on. Trauma, Healing My Journey. Her philosophy is grounded in the belief that healing begins from within, and it most certainly does. Being aware, and she has in quotations, being aware of my mental and spiritual brokenness and seeking God for mental, spiritual renewal and restoration. This is where my healing journey began. Her healing journey began with acknowledging the mental and spiritual brokenness caused by childhood trauma, an era when counseling was not widely accessible or openly discussed in Black families. The unaddressed trauma of her early years left her distant, guarded, suspicious, and constantly on alert, shaping her self-esteem and confidence well into her adulthood. Through faith, intentional inner work, and commitment to personal growth, Thea discovered that true healing requires alignment across 3 dimensions: physical, stability, emotional and mental well-being, and spiritual connection, which is faith. She states, for me, I had to heal the child within me before I could heal the adult me. Today, she's preparing to launch her health coach business, where she will combine her clinical expertise, spiritual insight, and personal testimony to guide others toward wholeness. Her mission is to help empower individuals rebuild from the inside out, mentally, physically, and spiritually, so they can live with clarity, confidence, and purpose. Ashe, ashe, asheo. That's a Ghanaian word, which means and so it is. Greetings, Thea.
Thank you. Glad to have you.
Yeah, we are so happy that you're able to join us on this wonderful, wonderful evening, Sunday evening. So,
Yeah.
you talk about trauma. That seems to be one of your interests. And I commend you on becoming a registered nurse and going through all of that because it's quite rigorous. And so what led you on this journey? What was the first thing that said, look, I need to start healing the inner me? You talked about childhood trauma. I mean, you alluded to it. But is there anything specific that you would like to share or not share? You can talk generally or you can talk specifically.
Well, when I was about 8, there was a traumatic experience. Um, my father, he tried to kill my mom. He shot her. So that was very traumatic to me. And as I stated before, I never really got over that. And I think I carried it over into adulthood. Um,
Did your mom live through that or did she just?
yes, thank God she lived to 84 years old.
Oh, okay.
Uh, yes, but just the thought of not having her in my life and me being that young of a child, even though I had older sisters, um, it's not the same being having your mom. When those times come, your sisters is okay, they can intervene, but there's nothing like a mother. So after that happened, we ended up moving to the South Suburbs of Illinois, and that's really where I was raised from a child from 8 years old up until adulthood.
Well, was your father still in the home?
No, after we left, he was much older than my mom from the beginning. And I think he was a real jealous guy. he was not only physically abusive, he was verbally abusive. So being a child and seeing all of those things happening, especially when he shot her, because we was in the house when he shot in the house, and that loud noise today I jump every time I hear a loud noise. So it's traumatic when and I think sometimes people don't understand. They say, "Oh, you're being paranoid." No, it's not the point of being paranoid. It's that PTSD when you've been traumatic in a sense where you hear the loud noise, anything that triggers you, that loud noise triggers me. It's not as bad as it used to be, but I still sometimes find myself jumping if I hear, like, it could just be a car backfiring, or it can just be somebody outside the door dropping something, and I kind of react to it. So that's what really, and then being in an abusive relationship myself, um, it kind of said, you know what, it's time to stop that curse somewhere. Um, I went through pretty much 7 years of verbal abuse. I mean, if I would allow him to physically abuse me, he would have. However, I stood strong. I took after my mom 100%. Um, I'm not going to allow a man to put their hands on me. But the verbal abuse is worse than being physically abused. So basically, I was guarded throughout up until I found Christ again. I was guarded. I don't trust people. My confidence was just out the door. Self-esteem went into the toilet. So I stated, like, I can't continue to go on like this. I was just broken in pain, but you don't look what you feel. You don't look like you feel. I didn't look like I was in pain. I didn't look like I was broken, but I knew that I was broken, right? So I cried out to God. I told him, I said, look, I surrender. I can't do it anymore. And being a healthcare professional, we're taught to listen for those words. I can't do it anymore, because those are signs of people wanting to give up on life. So we are taught to talk them off the ledge and say, what's going on? Do you have a way out? Do you have a plan?
Right.
And I was like, who is going to ask me, do I have a plan?
Mm-hmm.
So, being the healthcare professional I am, I had no intentions, and I have no intentions of, you know, talking about taking my life or ending my life at any given time. However, I didn't know how to cry out for help. You understand? And back in the day when I was born in '68, there was no counseling. And even if it was, Black families didn't believe in bringing folks into their business. There was no counseling, and we were not going to go to counseling. Even the situation that happened, there was nothing else. We never discussed it again. So it always come back to my mind. I can be in a dream or something. I can hear a loud noise, and I jump straight up in the bed. It has been like that pretty much, like I said, throughout my adult life. But since I have dedicated my life back over to God, I have been getting some healing, some relief, some peace. And in these type of situations, you have to have an outlet. So my outlet, I've always been a good writer. Even when I was going to school, we had to write those papers. I've always been a good writer. And I've always, my professors always said, "Oh, you do a great job with writing." I'm like, "Oh no, but I saw it after a while, and I said, let me just start writing what comes to my head. Sometimes the Holy Spirit will say, in the middle of a sleep, it says something to me, and
Mhm.
I have to get up right away. And what I do is I take my phone and I write it in the phone so that I won't forget um, by morning. And I'll get up and I'll write in my journal those things that came to me. I'll look those up. I'll read the word and find out exactly what it means. Um, and then just something told me, and I guess it could have been the Holy Spirit saying, you know what? You have stories to tell. So the first thing I did was I was kind of spiritually broken. Um, I really hadn't been in church for over probably 3, 4 years. Hadn't picked up a Bible. Hadn't did none of that. Was just out there doing what I was doing. Um, so I decided that enough is enough. I need to see God, because really God is really the only person that's going to help me turn this thing around. So, I went and I purchased a study Bible. I had purchased a study journal. I started reading my word every day, devotion, dedicating that time first in my life. Number one in my life is no matter what's going on, I'm going to read the word, and I'm not gonna no distractions at all. So I would just sit there, read my word, and sometimes you don't understand what it's saying. So I was like, you know what? Just let me look this up. Let me find out exactly what they're talking about. But one thing is good: the study Bible kind of lay it out for you exactly what they're saying. And I have really found myself in so much more peace. Like, I love now going to church. I go to Bible class, I go to church, I volunteer. I mean, I live to go to church. I live to see Sunday. I live to see Tuesday. I live to see every other Saturday so that I can go volunteer. So
Mhm.
those things really gave me an outlet to get the heal, to rebuild my life. As
Mhm.
I said in my book, to become whole again.
Mhm.
Yes.
So after the things that your mom experienced, uh, did your mom have, well, I think you've answered it, but just for people who may not have kind of heard it, because it was kind of an underlying kind of statement. So did your mom ever seek counseling?
No, no. Like I said, back in those days, Black families did not seek counseling. They felt like it was, reason being it was because that would say I'm a crazy person. Because of course, if you go see a psychiatrist or a psychologist or even just a counselor, it's always directed to somebody has mental illness or behavior health issues. That's not always the case. Some people have emotional problems. It's not necessarily that they have mental illness or behavior illness. It's just that they emotional and they just need an outlet. They need someone to speak to other than their family. Sometimes sometimes when you talk to family, when you talk to friends, sometimes they can be a little bit judgmental, or they'll say, "Oh, get over it." There ain't nothing wrong with you. But
Mhm.
I just don't like that, because you never know what a person is going through. Before you start judging them, you really need to find out really what is the bottom line, what is the root of it. So
I think sometimes so. And you're so right. And traditionally, in 20, 30 years ago and beyond, Black
Mhm.
families did not seek counseling for several reasons. One, because most were very religious and they believed that all you have to do is pray and it would disappear. The
Mhm.
second thing is they didn't know what it was. They didn't, because that was something that people who didn't look like us, who were
Right.
Caucasian, did. And
Yeah.
so, and most people uh, had a negative stigma about that because of that. And the
Mhm.
third thing, for the ones who were middle class, who were more exposed, sometimes people just didn't have the resources for that. That was an additional expense. And there were so few of us, melanated people who
Mhm.
could have addressed their issues, because people who don't look like us tend to read more into the story than is really there. They don't really, a lot of times they don't really have a full understanding as at what is presenting in front of them. So, and your mom is no longer here. Is that correct?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay. Well, let's get to the part where you turn this trauma and this pain into something that was purposeful. What inspired you to go into nursing?
I started out as a CNA, certified nurses assistant. And I was working, I was right out of high school. Instead of me going to college, I did go to college like a half a semester. When you go on that break for for holiday, I didn't go back because I was homesick. And I just started life. I should have went to college, but I didn't at that point. And sometimes you say, you know what, you should have went to college, but sometimes it's a time and a season for everything. It wasn't my season to go to college at that point. So
Mhm.
if I had never been introduced to this CNA class, I would have never known anything about nursing. You know what I mean? Um, so basically, I was working at Brown's Chicken, and I was working in the evening, and the people that was at the rehab center, they used to come there and get their dinner, lunch, whatever it was. And they talked about this free class. Anything free, yes, I'm going to go. So they was like, they got a free CNA class down the street at the nursing home. I'm like, CNA, that sounds big. So I'm trotting down, I trot down there and I sign up. So all of these people was in this basement at this nursing home.
Mhm.
And they said, we're going to take a competency test.
Mhm.
And whoever I called, you can get your things and you can leave. So I was still standing when I at the end of the day. So basically, that means I was going to go through an 8-week course and learn how to be a CNA, right? So we had class right there in the nursing home in one of those rooms. And afterwards, we had to do clinicals.
Mm.
And after clinicals, we had to take a test, a written test, and we had to pass it with an 82 or better. So of course we sit there and we taking this test, and I'm like nervous. I'm like, oh God, oh God, oh God. So so the lady said, when I call your name, you gather your things and you have to go. So I'm sitting there, I'm like, Lord, please don't let her call my name. So I was still standing at the end of the day. So I got my certification and I was offered a job right there in that nursing home.
Oh, that's wonderful.
Yeah. So I started working there. At that time, they wasn't paying any money. I started, I think, at $4 or something an hour. This was
Mm.
1988. Okay. So I'm like, I'm tired of working hard. I'm tired of these nurses just dogging us CNAs out. We're the backbone of this place. I really need to do something about it. So some of the nurses was very nice, and they was like, "Hey, look, you work hard. You know the job. You just need to be licensed." I said, "Oh no, I don't want to be no nurse." So I went out. I left and moved out of state to Florida, and I don't know what prompted me. I guess I was just tired of being used and abused. So I said, you know what? If I can't beat them, let me join them. So that's exactly what I did. I started doing my prerequisites. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and it took me a couple of years to get the prerequisites down. But once I did that, I was able to sign up for the nursing program, which it was an 18-month program. It was we had to go in the evening from like 5 to 9 or something like that. And we would graduate in June of 2008. So the goal for me was I'm going to graduate by the time I'm 40 years old. Because I didn't go back to school till I was like in my late 30s, right? So I was turning 40 that May. I graduated that June.
Mm-hmm.
And I set that for the boards in October of 2008. And
Mm.
I passed the boards the first time around. And I was just so excited. I'm like, Lord, thank you. You know, here's a good story. Like, you know, when you go to the testing center, you have to put everything in a locker, nothing out because everything is on the computer, right? So I'm nervous. I know I had studied. I had studied all. I studied so much. I studied so much. So I got nervous. I said, let me put a scripture in my shoe. I had one of those shoes that you slip your feet in. So
Mm-hmm.
my favorite scripture was, I can do all things through Christ that strengthens me, Philippians 4:13. I put that in my shoe, my right foot, right? So every time I would come to a question on the test, and I'm like, okay, God. And I would tap my foot and I would go on. So true story, they cut off around 75 to 365. So it's random. So they cut me off at 70. I was like, oh my God, I was so bad. I was so bad they failed me. So basically they was giving us a bathroom break. And so I came back and I got about 20 more questions. I was in like 90 some, around 92, it cut off. All I did was went into my car and just cried. I was like, I don't even know what happened. I don't know what that was. I just cried. And I couldn't get my results until Monday because I took the test on a Friday. Now, had I taken it on a Thursday, I could have got my results on Friday. But I had to wait till Monday. And I was already working as a GN. And I told my boss, I said, look, I don't want to work as a GN because
What's
I'm
a GN?
a graduate nurse.
Okay.
I said, because I don't want to be embarrassed if I fail this test. And then now I got to go back down to be a CNA, right? So she was like, this is the best way to do it because you learn it. And when you go take the test, all that stuff will come back to you.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, it really did help me. So I was excited. After 6 months on the job, I ended up being a charge nurse.
Mm.
That's how good I was.
Yeah, congratulations. So, what from your background and your experiences did you bring in to the nursing profession, having come through and having overcome and sailed through the traumatic experiences in your childhood, your the abusive relationship with your partner? How did that help you as a nurse?
As a nurse, you know what? You're taught as, like I said, healthcare professors are taught. First of all, you have to acknowledge that you have a problem. You
Mm-hmm.
have to acknowledge that you're broken, you're in pain. Because if you don't, what you're doing is you're masking those problems. And that's why I said you have to be healed from the inside out. You can look good on the outside. Nobody will never know that you're broken.
Mm-hmm.
However, you know that you're broken, right? So you have to acknowledge to yourself, but we're in denial. And I got a lot of that during the time that I was at the bedside. And so who am I? I'm just one of those patients too. So I have to tap into myself and say, hey, look, you the healthcare professional, you know what the rules are. let's acknowledge what's going on with you. Let's get you some help. And so that's why I didn't go to a professional therapist. However, God was my professional therapy.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and I would write those books. It helped me so much get a lot of that stuff out.
Mm-hmm.
And because if I don't heal the child within me, I can't heal that adult.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why I started. That's my outlet. Everybody needs an outlet
Mm-hmm.
to help them get over it, whether it's a professional, a healthcare professional, whether it's a counselor, whether it's a best friend, whether it's a brother, a sister, whoever that you can speak to and talk it out.
Mm-hmm. So, in terms of the two wonderful books that you have written, let's talk about those.
Okay.
The first one deals with.
This is the first one I wrote. It's kind of like a testimonial.
Mm-hmm.
It's called Holy Disruption: Faith Without Filters, Beyond the Mask.
Okay, so what's basically the premise? What's the main message in that one?
Just spiritually broken from over the years, just spiritually broken, and I don't know. I
Well,
just
it seems like to me that that book would really resonate with a woman who is trying to figure out her life, that she's been downtrodden for so long. Family members may have mentally, physically, and even sexually abused her. So this book gives her the outlet of seeing that she's not alone,
yes,
that she can see herself in your poetic words that you put in the book, and that she can see that there's light at the end of the tunnel. Because when you're in a storm, you can't see the outcome. You're praying and you're praying, and I tell people you only have to pray in one situation and meditate on the answer. And people keep praying the same prayer, and so you're sabotaging the results because you don't believe that it's been answered, because you can't see the results so far with your eyes, even though the results are being manifested in the ethers and in uh, the heavenly realm. You can't see it yet. So it sounds like this book is a concrete, tangible resource for women to know that even though you don't see it and you feel broken, the Most High sees you as whole. And that this is kind of like um, a life preserve that you throw out to someone who's drowning in the ocean. So this book is a life preserve for women primarily. Men can benefit from it too, but for women primarily, to know I have something tangible within my hands that shows me the way out.
mm,
This person, Thea, has done it. She's given me the template for doing it. All I have to do is stick with it and know that I'm being healed, and that the broken spaces within me are being mended and put back in place, and that I am not uh, that my experiences don't define who I am.
exactly.
I'm just going through that. So I think that book is really powerful to let women know that this is the template, because in the middle of the night, 2 a.m. or whatever, you can't call your best friend or anyone else because they're asleep. You can pick up your wonderful book and work through it.
Yes.
Because it's showing you the light at the end of the tunnel. And what about the second book?
So the second book I just published, it just came out last week. It is called I Am Me. I don't have the book. It's on its way. It's supposed to be here next week. So
Oh, okay.
it says I Am Me. I don't know if you can see it. I just want
Yes, I love the graphics.
Yes, it says, and reason I chose this cover is because do you see the cracks? Um, it's something with the Chinese people when they have ceramics and they break them and they put them back together. You can still see the cracks in it. That means I am not perfect, but if you go into this section over here, I am healing. I am becoming
Yeah,
whole again, right?
yeah,
But
I
I
love
want
that.
you to still see the cracks where I was broken.
Mm-hmm.
And it says, I am me, survival, healing, rebuilding, becoming whole. So basically, it talks about that 8-year-old child, and it talks about how traumatic it was for that 8-year-old child, and every time that's the she had to go into survival mode, okay, because anytime you hear the loud noises and things like that, you got to go into survival, and then she never healed from it, right? So she took all of that into her adult life,
Mm-hmm.
and it just caused havoc throughout her adult life.
Mm-hmm.
And then now she's starting to heal that child so that adult can heal as well. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
so she's healing, she's rebuilding. Well, she healed, and there were some other things that happened through when I was living in Florida that I didn't discuss. Um, when I got to Florida, this is before I got married and everything. I ended up losing my car. I ended up losing my job and
Mm-hmm.
had eviction notice. And then I had gotten this rental car, and this was before I actually moved there, but I had gotten a rental car, and the person was supposed to drop it back off because we was late getting me back to the airport. They were supposed to drop it off at the airport, but they waited till I got on the plane, took that car and joyride, but for like 2 to 3 weeks, and just
Oh
piled,
my goodness.
yeah, just piled up like uh,
The expenses,
things
yeah, the
that
cost.
I didn't have the funds for, right? So that already set me back, and then get eviction notice and losing your car and losing your job all in 1 week.
Wow.
But then it goes to say, and I'm not going to go into the whole book. It goes to say that I have to cry out for God. It's an emergency.
Mm-hmm.
So and God heard me. It's like He said, you need to go back to where you know. Go back to being that CNA until you can do better. That's what you know. Because you over here trying to sell cars. That is not no constant income. You need to go back, get your CNA license here in Florida until you're able to get back in school and get your nursing license. And
Mm-hmm.
exactly what I did. I got a job, I got a car, all in 1 week. And the
Wow.
income tax, it was so happy that my income tax was on the way. And I talk about all of this in the book, the new book that I just published.
Mm-hmm.
I was able to catch up on the rent.
Mm.
And, eventually, once I started working, I was able to make payments on this debt and get it away from up under me
Mm-hmm.
because it was a problem. It was going to deter me in the long run from getting what I needed to get, especially when it messes up your credit and all that stuff like that. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah, and then that's another thing that um, it was my passion, and I always went back to the nursing field. I've been in healthcare for over 30 some years right now. I started.
Mm-hmm.
I was 18 years old as a CNA, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I've been a nurse for 18 years. Who would have thought, you know? But it was my passion. But
Mm-hmm.
I did try to sell cars. I came back to this nursing field. Like that was the thing I knew. That's what the thing I was good at.
Right,
Like
right.
like
That's your
it,
passion.
God has
That's
a
your
purpose
passion.
for everyone.
Yeah. Yeah, that was your passion. The other thing was a job, but the nursing was your passion.
Uh-huh.
That you would do that even if you were not paid. That's how you know what your
Yeah.
passion is. Yeah.
I mean, I would do extra stuff, and people was like, "Girl, why you doing that? Like, why not?" You know, that's what we do. If we're saying we Christians and we're saved, why not?
Mm-hmm.
And not
Mm-hmm.
look and not look back and not look for something back in return.
Mm-hmm.
So,
But it's your journey, and that's what we have to understand. That is our own personal journey. What someone else has to say about it, it's just that they have their opinion,
yeah,
titled to their opinion, but it may not be yours. And we
exactly.
have to stand in our truth.
But
Thea,
listen,
let's get your contact
I,
information before we run out of time. If
okay,
people would like to talk with you or buy your books, give them the contact information.
okay. I have my email is Althea. That's Althea at the whole wellness collective.com. And that is whole WHOLE wellness WELLNESS collective COLLECTIVE.com. I'm working to launch I'm working on my website so that I can launch my health coach business. So, I am looking forward, onward. My motto here is Control, Alt, Delete.
Mm,
Control me, um, control my thinking, and then delete the negativity. Alter my thinking, because people will say this, that, and whatever they would like to say to you. However, it is sometimes your little mind get to running and racing and saying. So you have to alter. You have to be a bigger person and alter your mind to a more positive situation.
mhm, mhm. Stop the chatter.
Exactly.
Uh, yeah, yeah, diminish the chatter in your head. So, okay, so you've written two books that people can purchase on Amazon. And these
Yes.
books basically cover your life, but they also give people, women in particular, a blueprint as to how to stop people from hurting them. And
Yeah, like you don't have to stay. It's up to you. I want to give them that outlet. It's up to them to do something about it. You know what I mean? When you're tired and sick and tired of something, you are going to do something about it.
yeah,
Okay. And that's what I wanted to do, a positive outlet for people, women in particular, because a lot of times we don't have those outlets, or we're afraid to speak out about it because we're afraid that somebody is going to come get us.
hmm
We're talking about it, I don't want people to feel that way. I want them to have a way out. And I can say and I'll never get this out of my head. When I used to watch Oprah way back when, and when I got married, I kept that in the back of my head, because when you try to get out of a situation, that person is evil. They're gonna do something to you. They don't want you, and they don't want nobody else to have you. So
yeah,
basically, I kept that in my head. Have a way out. So when I left my husband, I tell you, he went to work. I had already started preparing for him. And when he went to work, I looked out the door, make sure he was gone. And there I piled up that car and I was gone. I turned off everything that was in my name and bye-bye. Okay. So I knew him. I knew he was violent. And I didn't want to give him a reason.
hmm
Okay. Not saying that he was gonna hurt me. I could have been the one to hurt him. You know what I'm saying? So
hmm
I don't want to go to jail and I didn't want to die. So here I am.
hmm Well, I think that you have a powerful testimony to share with people, to share this little child who came from a very traumatic experience, being in the house with her mom, and whose dad was trying to unalive the mom. And you're a child.
Yes.
And you are taught to love both parents, and that can definitely do something to your psyche. And then well, what I love about your story is you took that pain and you turn it into resilience, because you've been able to bounce back from that situation, even though you're still in the self-healing mode.
Yes.
You've taken the pain and you've not allowed it to consume you or to destroy you.
Yes.
It's important. And I think both of your books speak to that. Your books are saying your situations, your circumstances don't define who you are.
Exactly.
It's
Yep.
just a moment in time.
That's exactly the point of that first book. Even the second one, it doesn't define me. And one thing I learned from writing those books, and I wrote both of those books within this year. The first one was published in February. This one was published this month. So what I've learned is God is my healer, my provider, my everything. He's number one in my life, and nobody and no one is going to take my eyes off of him, right? And I'm not that person I was before, where I'm not allowing people in my space. That negativity, it's not going to happen in here. It's not. They're not going to be in my space if they can't come with positivity and with spirituality. Then that's just not the way I'm rolling these days.
Well, you've set some very, very healthy emotional boundaries.
Yes.
The boundaries and mental boundaries, and people can sense when you're sincere about your boundaries, and they fall off. I tell people, when you have an adversarial relationship, one or two things are going to change. Once you change, the person is going to change along with you, or the person's going to move out of your life.
Yes.
You know, and both are win-win situations for you.
Yeah, and I remember last Sunday, the bishop said, like Jonah, he was in his then, and now in the now, but then some people are still they in now, but they still acting in then, or they still have thoughts of then. Like, I'm not going to be. There's no purpose of me being in now, and then thinking those thoughts in my head and doing those things that I was doing then. So
yeah, then it's synonymous with the past. That's what Reverend Bryant was talking about last Sunday.
Yes,
which was his birthday too, by the way. They celebrated. It was a very nice, very nice.
yes.
Well, it wasn't him who did that. It was
Bishop McKissick.
Yeah, Bishop McKissick, who preached a very, very powerful sermon.
Yes.
So anyway, Thea, we're coming to a close.
Okay. Well,
and my Anita Baker voice was coming. Yeah, my Anita Baker voice was coming and going. Everybody, so I really appreciate your being a guest and talking about your amazing story and how you overcame it and how you're still overcoming it.
Yes.
By going within and doing your own healing work. People tend to blame other people outside of them.
Yes.
This is what Michael Jackson said, look at the man in the mirror.
Exactly.
Because you are that person.
Yes.
And it's not to blame you, but it's to have you
just tell your story.
Yeah, and to assume responsibility to heal the shadow self and the inner child.
Yes.
And you have shown so much resilience in everything. So thank you for sharing your very precious life with us. We appreciate
Well, thank you. Thank you for having me on. I surely appreciate you.
Oh, yeah.
And yeah, you really gave us the outlet, us 50 plus.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm
Yeah.
excited.
So for the listeners, if you desire to purchase the books that Thea was talking about, they are available on Amazon.
Yes.
And if you would like to have her talk to a group or groups of people, women or whatever, at your church or club meetings, sororities, or whatever, she provided her contact information.
Yes, and I'm also going to do when I launch my business, I'm going to not only have it one-on-one individual coaching, I'm going to also have like a group setting as well. So you know, so some people don't like to one-on-one, or they might, they might want to do a group session. So you never know. Uh,
Yeah,
so that's my plan.
yeah. But thank you, thank you so very, very, very much. And it was indeed a pleasure and an honor to have you this evening. And for all of you who are watching, please click like, and subscribe and share all of our wonderful episodes, Great Lives on the Rise. We thank you so much for being loyal and faithful listeners and supporters. Without you, we couldn't have made it as far as we have. So we thank you and we wish you the very best. Namaste
Namaste.
and namaskar. Take care until next time, beloveds.
Thank you. Bye bye.
Be safe and be well.
Okay.
Thank you so much for joining us for this episode of Gray Lives on the Rise, being brought to you by Jamila Scents, which is the product line of Oyende Enterprises. Jamila Scents is a 100% natural aromatherapy line that heals the mind, body, and soul. This episode of Gray Lives on the Rise was intended to uplift you, to inspire you, and to motivate you. Please tell all of your friends, family members, and anyone you know who's 50 plus, who's living a vibrant life and interested in doing more and enjoying life even to its fullest. So thank you, and please subscribe, like, and comment on this video and all our videos. Thank you, and until next time, until our next podcast, namaste and be well.